Hi friends, thank you for taking time out of your week to spend a little with me. I appreciate you. This week we are going to discuss one of the oldest cold cases in Indian River County that finally came to a close. I ask you all to join me as we remember Hiram Grayam. Hiram, who went by Ross, was born on August 18, 1920, in Lafayette, Indiana, to parents Harry and Myrtle Grayam. He was the youngest of 4 children to the couple. Ross lost his father when he was 15 years old. He continued to live at home with his mother in Akron, Ohio after completing school. He found work in the advertising department at People's Drug Company. At the age of 21, he was required to complete a draft registration due to America's entry into World War II. He enlisted in the military on July 5, 1942, as part of the Army's 318th Infantry. Before he was shipped off overseas for war, Ross married Doris Ann Sheets on September 18, 1943, in Summit County, Ohio. While in the Army, Ross held the rank of Sergeant Private First Class and was part of General George Patton's Third Army during the Battle of the Bulge and took place in the liberation of 2 concentration camps. The Battle of the Bulge was one of the most important battles during the war, which turned the tide of war and halted German troops from advancing. It was the largest and bloodiest battle fought by the United States during World War II, with more than 8,000 casualties and 46,000 wounded. Among those wounded was Ross, who received a Purple Heart for his bravery. The battle officially ended on January 28, 1945, when Nazi forces could only retreat. Ross was discharged from the military on October 27, 1945. After a year in Europe, the Grayams were ready for a fresh start. They moved to Vero Beach, Florida in 1946. Together, the couple had 3 children, 2 sons, Larry and David, and a daughter named Karen. At the time, Indian River County housed around 38,000 people and had that small town charm. A common line of business was the Milkman, who delivered fresh milk to the front porches of residents. And Ross was one of the best. He was employed by the Borden Milk Company to deliver and sell milk, and he quickly became beloved by those on his route. Ross often went out of his way to show kindness, whether that was a quick chat with a neighbor or paying someone's milk tab with his own money when they came up short. He was well known in the community and well liked. Besides being the best milkman, Ross also served as a department commander of the Disabled Veterans, a member of the VFW, chairman of the Band Association, and commander of the Civil Air Patrol in his district. Life was going great for the Grayams. But after 18 years of simple living, Ross suddenly goes missing. The year was 1968. The modern marvel of the time was color television, which had recently become available for public purchase. Ross woke up on April 11th and headed for the Borden office in Fort Pierce to pick up his deliveries before heading to the town of Gifford for the day. As the day progressed to night, no one noticed anything unusual. His son Larry claimed in an interview years later that his father was a little later than usual coming home, but had no cause for concern until they received a knock at the door. A sheriff deputy with the Indian River County explained that Ross never returned from his route that evening. Police were contacted by the Borden Company when Ross didn't return back to the office. It was very much unlike him, and they grew concerned for his safety. A search for the missing salesman carried through the night, where they hoped to locate Ross or his truck. During questioning of residents on his route, investigators came across a young girl who was likely one of the last people to see Ross before his disappearance. The girl explained when she saw Ross parked in the neighborhood, she quickly ran over to his delivery truck. Ross promised to give the girl a birthday cake to celebrate her special day, but when she made it to the side door, she realized he was not alone. According to the witness, Ross was in his truck with 2 younger African American men, whom she did not know. Ross explained he had to take the 2 men somewhere, but he would be right back, before shooing her away. His truck then started and drove down the road, and Ross never returned to continue his conversation with her. By the following morning, anxiety mounted among his family and friends. No new leads were uncovered, and the investigation seemed to be on pause. A foot search of the area where he was last seen was ordered, along with an aerial search conducted by the Piper Aircraft Corporation. Shortly before noon, flying over the woods west of 38th Avenue and between North and South Gifford Street, the missing delivery truck was located. They hoped for the best, but expected the worst. As they entered the chilling scene, their worst fears were confirmed. Next to the truck was the body of 47-year-old Ross. He was transported from the scene to the coroner, who described his murder as execution style. They discovered he was shot 3 times with a small caliber weapon. Rumors circulated that his body was badly beaten, but the autopsy discredited this. The discovery of Ross traumatized the community. His murder was on the heels of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by a sniper on April 4th, just 6 days prior. According to the Press Journal, at the time Gifford was predominantly African American, and the discovery of the well-liked Ross resulted in rumors that his death was racially motivated. Not only did this rumor keep racial tensions inflamed, but it created headlines. However, after further digging into the books of the boarding company, the sheriff at the time, Sam Joyce, fully believed the murder had nothing to do with race, but robbery. According to the boarding company, Ross had $70 in his truck, the equivalent of $638 today. Shortly after the news of his death, another witness came forward. According to this witness, on Thursday evening, they heard what they believed to be gunshots. Minutes after the shots, they stated a 1950s model Chevrolet, occupied by 2 males, fled the area at high speed. They didn't get a good look at the suspects. This added information did not provide any groundbreaking leads, and investigators seemed to be back at square one. The sheriff believed because Ross was a well-known nice guy, the suspects probably used this to their advantage to gain access to his truck before forcing him to drive to his execution. Despite exhaustive search efforts, the suspects seemed to elude justice, and Ross's case was filed under unsolved. Over the next 56 years, there would be 16 separate investigations that ended in no arrest. In 2006, at the request of the Grayam family, Ross's case was reopened. His son Larry took to the media, interviewing with a local newspaper to put the word out that his father's murder was still a mystery, and they wanted answers. In an unlikely turn of events, a man by the name of Thomas Jefferson Williams responded to this particular interview by writing a letter to the editor. In this letter, Thomas claimed rumors were circulating that he was the shooter in the Milkman murder. He claimed he was accused of the heinous crime, but denied having any knowledge or involvement, and even provided his alibi. The letter was a weird development since Thomas was never a suspect in the original case, and no one knew who he was. He interjected himself into the case and became a suspect because of it. But since police had nothing to connect Thomas, they had no reason to pursue him. Along with Thomas, several others would be dismissed as suspects in the following years, leaving Ross's case to grow cold. It wasn't until recent years that the mystery of who killed Ross finally came to a close. In 2022, the Indian River County Sheriff's Department established their cold case unit and decided to tackle their oldest case first. As they dived further into Ross's case, they conducted more interviews, which led them to new witnesses. In February of 2022, Thomas was reconsidered as a suspect due to an inmate at the Indian River County Jail. The sheriff's office received a tip from an inmate who claimed they were related to Thomas. Allegedly, Thomas confessed to the inmate that he killed a milkman back in 1968. The inmate explained that Thomas was a mean man and a career criminal, and they wouldn't dare breathe a word of it had Thomas not died years prior. Thomas Jefferson Williams passed away in 2016 at the age of 68 due to natural causes. Thomas, as it turned out, had quite the rap sheet, ranging from minor traffic infractions to petty theft and arson. He was well known in the justice system and around town for being a violent criminal. After receiving this information, detectives decided to try and track down Thomas's ex-wife, who they felt might know something more. In late 2023, his ex-wife was located in Miami. The wife provided the same account as the previous witness. She also made the statement that had Thomas been alive, she would have never spoken to them because he was a threat to her and her family. With him being gone, she had the courage to speak to police. After speaking to the witnesses and placing Thomas in Gifford at the time of Ross's murder, Indian River County Sheriff Eric Flowers believed they found their shooter. Thomas, who would have been around 21 at the time, matched the description provided by the young girl. Sheriff Flowers announced at the conference for Ross's case that they'd hoped the second person involved could also be brought to justice. They have high hopes the suspect, or maybe someone in the community, will come forward soon. Larry Graham, who is now 72, praised the team for taking the time to focus on cold cases. He stated the news comes with mixed emotions, since the murder of his father was devastating. Larry, who was 16 at the time, stated the case led him to a career in public safety and photojournalism. The announcement was bittersweet, but he was pleased they'd made it to a point where they can consider the case closed. The Graham family only wished Doris could be there to have a resolution. Sadly, Doris Graham died 3 years after her husband. Her children believed she had died of a broken heart. Ross's funeral service was held at the First Baptist Church, where he received his full military honors. Both Ross and Doris were laid to rest at the Crest Lawn Cemetery in Vero Beach, Florida. Hi friends, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts, so leave them below and we can chat about this case. If you found this to be informative, please consider giving the video a thumbs up to let YouTube know you want more from me. And lastly, if you're not subscribed yet, you should, because we would love to have you under the ash tree. Thank you so much, my friends, for your support and patience in getting these cases out. I have not had as much free time lately, but fear not, I'm trying to get myself regimented once again. I also feel like I want to do a supernatural video or a cryptid soon to shake up the programming. I know they're not everyone's favorites, but they're fun for me to do and it's a nice break. So if you're interested, that might be on the horizon. But thank you all again so much for always appreciating the work that goes into this channel and just always being so kind to me. I appreciate you all from the bottom of my heart, and I hope you have an amazing week ahead of you because you deserve it. But for now, we must part ways. So stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends.